Hey everyone, we are in Midtown Detroit. We're at Filson. Welcome to 5 to 10 in the D, episode 2. Welcome to the second episode of 5 to 10 in the D. I'm really excited to be here with, sitting next to me with my next guest, Dave Woodruff, my good friend. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Thanks for having me.
You know, you've got an amazing bio, which I want to read here. Your career has been as an advertising executive in Detroit, where today he is a Midwest Director of Sales at Entrepreneur Media. He has been very active in the Detroit advertising community and has been a member of the AdCraft Club of Detroit since 1984, where he was a member of the board of directors, and followed by that, he was served as a term as the 101st president of the organization. Wow.
Yeah.
He's also a member of the Detroit Advertising Association. He founded the Children's Hospital of Michigan Jeep Clayburgh Classic Charity Sports Clay Tournament, which ran over 10 years and raised nearly $1 million, establishing an endowed chair in pediatric rehabilitation at Wayne State University at Children's Hospital. Amazing, man. And if that's all not enough, ready for this, today Dave is also the co-founder and chairman of the board of the Bob Woodruff Foundation, a nationally recognized leading military charity for which he is very near and dear to his heart, and we'll talk about that momentarily. But last but not least, Dave is married to his beautiful wife, Leanne, and they have two wonderful children, Kyle and Ellie. He's an avid outdoorsman, a golfer, and serves as an Episcopal Eucharistic minister at Christ Church Cranbrook in Bloomfield Hills. Whew. How'd I do?
You did great. I'm out of
Should
breath.
we move on?
I'm out of breath, not you. Wow.
Man, you're a very, very busy guy.
Yeah, you know, it's I can't believe I've been doing this stuff as long as I have, but it's been a pretty quick 35 plus years in this career, but
Wow.
And everything else on top.
Well, it's amazing, and I do want to talk to you about your career and what was not mentioned in your bio, which I want to get to, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. First of all, you and I have worked together twice, which was not in your bio, which really disappoints me.
What, you mean you weren't in my bio?
No,
the jobs were somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, that's
All
right. It's my resume. I don't know.
But do you remember where it was that you and I first met?
I think it was National Geographic, wasn't it?
Oh, actually, no.
Oh, wait a second.
St.
St. Dunstan's Theater Guild. So
you did remember.
I did. You're right. Well, yeah, early life, doing some lighting design in the theater. I did that in high school and then into St. Dunstan's until, well into my 30s. And then finally had to give something up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's where we first met.
I remember 1993, I had just gotten in this business and joining St. Dunstan's Theater Guild in Cranbrook. And seeing you there with your son Kyle, and you would have him up on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You were doing lighting.
Yeah, he came with me all the time. Ellie, my daughter, was a little too young at the time, so she didn't come along.
So let's talk about your career. I first do remember you. That's when we were at St. Dunstan's. You were working at National Geographic, but your career didn't start there. No. So what inspired you to get into advertising, and where did it all start?
Well, you know, honestly, I was in radio. I interned at WXYZ Radio and then WJR, and WJR was a news intern during the 1980 Republican National Convention. Yeah, so WJR, so I worked with most of those guys are still there, but I was in radio, and then when I came back and graduated from Miami University, I took up a part-time job as a producer at XYZ, News Talk Radio, and did that for about a year and a half, did some broadcasting myself, covering motorsports and a few other things. I called the third turn on the hydroplane races for about 3 years with those guys. Wow. And then I was like, hey, if you're going to work full-time, you got to go to Des Moines or someplace and cut your teeth. And I said, there was a guy working in the sales department at the station. He said, look, if you want to make money, go get out of the behind the mic and go start selling. So I did that, and that led to a connection with someone Debbie Broder. I don't know if you remember Debbie from St. Dunstan's. She was working at Donor.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, we've got an opening for an assistant account executive working on a couple of accounts. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like what? Like Fago, Detroit Free Press, some really cool Detroit accounts. And I took off for that, and then I ended up, going into advertising. I worked at Donor for several years, and then I went to Campbell Ewald. Just like your previous guest, Mike Kraft, worked on Chevy truck. Then I got transferred and moved to New York, and Leanne and I had been married 9 months, and we moved to New York City to work. I worked on Chevrolet Regional, so I worked on the Northeast region there.
Okay.
That lasted about 2.5 years, and then I was recruited to come back. I had worked on Little Caesars at Donor, and I got recruited to come back and run the office for Cliff Freeman and Partners, which was part of Saatchi, the agency that took over from Donor on Little Caesars. So I worked on that business here. And that was a great run. Had a lot of fun, and then ended up getting recruited back by to leave and go to the print side. I ended up getting asked by a guy I used to work for at Campbell Ewald, Dennis Connaughton, to come work at Field and Stream and Outdoor Life and Skiing as the regional marketing director. So that's how I ended up in media, and then from there, there's some reorganization. Ended up in sales.
Okay.
Selling for Field and Stream and Outdoor Life. Then from there was a progression of different publishing companies. I worked at Gruner and Jahr. I worked at, certainly Hearst. I was there for almost 12 years as corporate director. Then ended up at Bloomberg for about 4.5 years, and then back in March I joined Entrepreneur. So wow. It's been a run, and all that, involved with the Aircraft Club, involved with the DAA, involved with a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, so that's been the run. It's been great. I love it. I still love the business.
Yeah, it's great. Is there, you worked on a lot of different campaigns. Is there one campaign that just stands out to you that was just near to you and just like your favorite? Yeah,
I love the Little Caesars work, both at Donor and at Cliff Freeman. Both of those those campaigns were incredible. I wish that kind of stuff could be done again, but I think probably my favorite one was, not getting all kinds of grief for this, but it was the Chevy versus Ford pickup truck advertising from 1985 or 86, which is this. We went out and tested these vehicles against each other for a month in the desert with AMCI, which is a company that's still around.
Yeah.
In the desert in California, Carlsbad Raceway, and we came back with these claims that were razor thin. But it was a great campaign, and when we stood two trucks on the end, and the Ford would fall over, and that was hard for me because I come from a Ford family. But that was for me, working on that was really cool.
Wow,
yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned having some time working and living in New York City.
Yep.
And nothing against New York, but how would you compare your time working in New York to what would be the difference of the Detroit market versus what you experienced in New York?
Yeah, I'd say that no question. I think we see it and hear it on the sales side now a lot, but it's a much smaller, much tighter community here in Detroit, and I like that. I like the fact that people in a very tight community. It looks out for each other really well. I think we've seen a lot of that this year. It's been a tough year in the last 12, 24 months for the advertising community here. It sticks together. It's much more dog eat dog out there, and it's great to be part of Madison Avenue for a while. I mean,
sure.
That's what we all kind of aspire to. But I love Detroit for that. We're a tight community. We stick with each other. I think the Aircraft Club is a great example of that.
Yeah.
But I've made lifelong friends that are also my colleagues and my competition. It really doesn't matter because they're friends, and we have a great tight community. So that's the big difference to me.
Yeah. No, and I experienced that for myself too, having spent a few years in Chicago.
Sure.
And really recognizing that the value that I had for media companies in Chicago was because I was from Detroit.
Yeah.
They recognized that we are a tight community, and they wanted somebody who had lived here and had relationships here.
Sure.
That meant something to them, because they realized that we can't just send anyone from New York to Chicago into Detroit.
No,
because
I just don't think it's as effective. Is it the right fiscal thing to do? Maybe, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
save for 5 to 30 in the D.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I've always known about you, and as I've known you for many, many years, you've got a big heart. You help a lot of people. You've helped me in my career, but also just your love for philanthropy. Children's Hospital, which is very near to my heart. I had an aunt who passed away there at a very young age of 17 years of age. So I always really appreciated the work you were doing to raise funds for Children's Hospital. But also your brother's organization, the Bob Woodruff Foundation.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that and the history of that and where it all started and where it is today?
I think most people know, although now it's getting on to being quite a long time ago when it happened, but in 2006, Bob was 23 days into the job as being the new co-anchor of World News Tonight, along with Elizabeth Vargas, and he was reporting in Iraq while he was waiting for the Palestinian elections to happen. He had been over there and he jumped over to Iraq to cover it, and he got blown up by an IED on January 29, 2006. He ended up with real severe head injuries, all kinds of complications. He was in a coma at Bethesda Naval Hospital for 36 days, and even after that, when he was in the hospital and had woken up, which was a miracle unto itself, we spent a lot of time there. I spent almost 6 weeks straight there the first go, after coming back from Germany with him, because he was evacuated to Landstuhl Hospital. But what we saw there was something we'd never been exposed to before, and that's the military and the military hospital system and injured soldiers and service members. And so but we were lucky. We had ABC, we had Disney, this structure that was built up around us to support Bob, and we also were all lucky enough to have our own careers and great bosses that let us give time to be there helping recover. But these guys didn't, and they were getting the same medical care, but we knew and we were told that the supportive care they were not going to get, and when they left, they were definitely not going to have the kind of resources we would have. Most of them are in their 20s, not married, whatever. So we just said, coming off my experience with Children's Hospital and creating that 501c3, I knew how to do it, and Lee and I, Bob's wife, and my wife Leanne, and Bob too, as much as he could, we were like, hey, look, if we can do something, we can at least try to raise a little bit of money and help a family or two, let's do it. And Bob had his celebrity, so we started out creating this thing, and in the first couple of years, it was run out of our kitchen here in Detroit. In fact, Leanne found the handwritten ledgers from the first 2 years of the foundation the other day. But then it started to take off, and now 14 years later, we've raised and given away almost $70 million to about 420 different veteran service organizations around the country in various states and doing various things, and it's become a monster. We're now one of the largest military charities in the country.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You guys just returned from a trip just this last Monday in New York, an event. Yeah, right? So we had Stand Up for Heroes, which is our marquee event where we raised a good majority of the money that we raise every year. And Bruce Springsteen has fronted that concert or show every year, except 1 year, 2 years ago, when he was doing his Broadway show. He couldn't do it. And it kicks off the New York Comedy Festival, which runs for 10 days in New York. And it's a combination of both music and comedy. And this year we had four comedians. We had two performers, Bruce and Sheryl Crow, who joined us late. And then we had four comedians. Jon Stewart has been with us almost the entire time, and I'm happy to call Jon a friend now. And he along with Hassan Minhaj, Ronnie Chang, who was hilarious, and it was one of the best events we've ever had. And we raised $5.7 million. Wow! In one night. That is amazing. That is amazing. Well, and here we are, Monday, the day we will hopefully launch this second episode is Veterans Day.
Right.
And obviously it's a day we all remember our veterans, but, hopefully everyone remembers our veterans every day, because I think we do tend to take our freedom for granted here in the United States. How can people get involved with the Bob Woodruff Foundation?
Yeah, I think there's, number one, they can donate. And the easiest way to do that is go to the BobWoodruffFoundation.org website. And you can see what we're doing there. We are going to try to do more local events here in Detroit, and I'm hoping we're actually coming up. We're doing an event with the Pistons. We've got a Bob Woodruff Foundation night down at LRC or LLC, LLA, LCA,
LCA.
So we're going to do that, and we're hoping. We've done an event, a Sporting Clays event. There's a big surprise, right? Yeah. The last couple of years, we took off the last 2 years. We're going to try to resurrect that next year. So, we're trying to do things locally, but really for us, we have a national mission because we take grant requests in from all over the country. So we try to make sure that we're supporting veterans wherever and whenever they need it, and that's a national mission. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we post links to the Bob Woodruff Foundation if anyone wants to get involved. Definitely, take some time out on this Veterans Day and go check out the Bob Woodruff Foundation and see if you're interested and how you can get involved. So I like to ask my guests one last question. What would you tell 25-year-old Dave Woodruff, what advice would you give him today?
That's simple. Go to Des Moines. So, and what I mean by that is, I thought I wanted to be a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And I really did. And I think if I hadn't been so attached to my hometown and being the firstborn of my family, I would have gone. And that's probably the one thing I regret. My career's been amazing, and I've got a great family here. But yeah, go to Des Moines and really kind of figure out if that's really what you're going to do.
I'm sure Des Moines would still welcome you, although we wouldn't want to lose you here in Detroit. Maybe I'll go with you. Let's all go.
5 and 10 in the D, it still work.
Exactly. Hey, Dave, John, thank you so much for being on 5 to 10 in the D. And everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.